Stuck on an island with 2 decks in hand. With Takeoff on board, things are just as I planned. I'm thinking I'll win when my boo plays triple coils, inks and brawls, and my plans are foiled.
Come on now, let's play some Lorcana. Watch Big Takeoff rise up from dueling lava. We'll slurp spaghetti like the tramp with seas of blue to help us ramp a smorgasbord of lore. It's Smorcana.
Hey everybody, welcome to Smorcana. My name is Katie.
My name is Brett.
And we cannot wait. We literally can't wait to talk about all things snacks, all things Disney, and all things Lorcana.
Unfortunately, there's not all that much to talk about this week, is there, in terms of news?
Yep, so I guess that's it. Keep on snacking, y'all. Nom 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 nom. Yeah, there really isn't much news in the Lorcana world right now.
The lack of news is becoming conspicuous. The lack of news about worlds, the lack of news about Disney Lorcana challenges. There is no news about the future of the competitive side of Lorcana.
Yeah, if a set hadn't just come out, I'd be a little bit like, are they done making Lorcana?
Now, I've experienced this in pretty much every game I've ever played. I think every single game has encountered exactly this scenario. It happened with Star Wars, it happened with Game of Thrones, it's happened with Hearthstone, where there's a lack of communication about competitive play, about events, about the future of the game, and 99% of the time it's nothing to worry about.
Okay, but like most of those games aren't played competitively, like on a wide scale.
Yeah.
So now I am worried.
Yeah, sure.
That didn't help at all.
Well, Ravensburger did put out a notice that they're working on it, that there will be an announcement to announce things. They made a pre-announcement. They're pretty good at that. You know, they make an announcement that there will be an announcement.
They love doing that. It's one of their favorite things to do.
Yeah, so we got that. We got the notice of, hey, this is just taking some time. And so that is comforting. I expect news about Disney Lorcana challenges and or worlds. We just don't know when or what.
Yeah, and like we've said before in the podcast too, I mean, the Disney IP, the Disney fan base and such kind of brings its own sense of...
hysteria?
Yes, hysteria, but also consistency, right? Like, so much of this is such a big staple. Like, I don't think Coca-Cola's not going to make soda anymore.
Sure.
You know, like, I'm not really worried about Disney not existing.
So Lorcana is too big to fail.
Kinda, yeah.
Well, we can all take comfort in that. Speaking of being too big to fail, what do you think about the live-action Snow White that's coming out this week?
Could fail. I don't know. I mean, it's gotten a lot of good early reviews. I know that mostly I've seen influencers who've gotten to see it early, and of course they're going to say that it's good because they got to see it. But the cool thing about the preview for this, or the early release of this, I suppose, is that they had a screening, which they normally do for Disney movies, at the Disney studios. And it's just really cute because it's an old-fashioned movie, right? It's based on the oldest Disney princess movie and the first feature-length film from Walt Disney Animation. And they had it back at the animation studio. It's not where Snow White was made, but it's really cute as an idea.
Very, very cute, very sentimental.
Yeah, nice to have a nod to animation since they've been doing so much copy-paste live-action baloney.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I hope we see a return to animation. Live-action's great, and Snow White's great. Who doesn't love Snow White? But it just breaks your heart a little bit when you see that Disney Animation is just popping out a bunch of live-action remakes of animated movies that they made a long time ago. You know, I think I'd almost be more interested to see an animated remake of Snow White.
From what I understand, they are expanding the story of Snow White quite a bit, and that's welcome to me. My favorite of these live-action remakes was The Little Mermaid because it took risks. It expanded the storyline. We got a lot more information about Prince Eric, and he got a song, and we figured out more about where he lives. The relationship between Ariel and Eric was a lot more developed. So if that's the direction they're going with Snow White and they're going to expand the storyline and make all of the characters a little bit more well-rounded, then I am all for that. What I won't appreciate is if it is kind of a shot-for-shot remake a la The Lion King.
Yeah, The Lion King was a nightmare. If you've never seen The Lion King live-action remake, don't. Like Britt just said, it was literally a shot-for-shot remake of The Lion King, and it was like, why are we doing this? But yeah, the Snow White songs I've heard in the trailers sound really good. I mean, I think it could be fun. I'm down. We will be there.
Yeah, we'll be reporting back on it next week for sure.
Yes, we will be excited to go see that movie. Don't get us wrong.
Speaking of excitement,
Yes.
the metagame in Lorcana right now is pretty wild.
I would say exciting is an appropriate word.
I think so. I think it's the most exciting it's been in several months.
This is the change-up we were looking for. This is what we were begging for last set, and we were like, ugh, none of these decks have changed. These cards did nothing.
We're seeing a lot of new cards. We're going to talk a lot more about this as we head on into the restaurant. Our appetizer is going to be an examination of the state of items and Sapphire decks in Lorcana.
Yeah.
And then for the main course, we have a potential antidote, a deck that I've been brewing and that I'm pretty excited about.
In those conversations, we'll talk about the Win-A-Box that we attended this past weekend, where you may or may not have played this mystery deck that we will discuss. Ooh, you did play it.
Shall we head on in?
Yeah, let's do it. I have your meal for you.
Hello, Melga. How are you? That's Melga, right?
No.
Oh, I'm so sorry,
it's
Helga.
Me, Helga.
Your hair is a little bit different. You know, it looked more like Melga, and sometimes it's hard to distinguish between. I mean,
you don't recognize me?
I know. Of course, I recognize you. It's just that your hairstyle, you styled it a little differently. I'm so sorry.
Try something new. You hate it.
No, I love it. I love it. It looks so good.
Thank you. I have brought appetizer from home country.
Okay, what have you got?
Smetty.
Excuse me? What did you say? Smetty?
It's called smetty.
Smetty.
Yes.
What's smetty?
Smetty is when you take various things from kitchen items, you could say, and put together in stew. It's called smetty.
So it's a stew. It's just kind of a bunch of leftover things?
Smetty.
Smetty.
Enjoy.
What country is this from, Helga?
She left. She walked away so fast.
Yeah.
We don't know where she's from.
I've not
never
been
asked
able
her?
to discern.
Me neither. Unclear.
Yeah, it's a mystery.
It kind of seems like, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, but it seems like smetty is just items backwards.
Oh.
Is that what it is?
I see. Yeah, that must be it.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, since we're talking about items anyways, seems like the whole Lorcana community's talking about items.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought that today of all days we would learn about smetty
I know.
and the backwards world of items?
It smells pretty good.
Yeah. Smells like stainless steel.
Somebody open a can of smetty in here? There were a lot of cans of smetty being opened this weekend, though.
Oh, there sure were. So much.
Holy cannoli.
So many. Katie, how many Sapphire Steel decks did you play against?
A lot. So there were 5 rounds. I played against 3 Sapphire Steel decks.
I also played against 3 Sapphire Steel decks.
And now I played against 4 Sapphire decks. Just one of them was Ruby Sapphire. Still had items. Still was annoying.
Sapphire items are everywhere. There's been a lot of discourse, a lot of hype about items.
Items. What's the deal with items here?
So what do you think about items, Katie?
Well, it's exciting, like we said before, that there's something to talk about with this meta, right? There's something that's getting people to play things that they might not have normally played.
Decks have certainly changed quite a bit.
Yeah, it feels like everyone's doing something different, whether they're playing items or if they're on the defense from items. I'm not sure that it's the items themselves that are the overpowered thing here, really. It seems like it's all the support that's been given to items.
Right, the items themselves aren't the powerful piece of this.
Right.
We didn't get a new item that is warping the metagame. Sapphire Coil is the closest thing. I mean, it's definitely landed in Ruby Sapphire decks, so that makes sense. It hasn't been the most powerful card in the set, but definitely one that is present in any deck that's playing Ruby Sapphire.
Yeah, it's cool. It's no lucky dime, but it's good.
But like you said, it's the support around items that is causing all of these issues that people have with the game.
Yeah. I mean, Belle. Hello?
Belle is free.
Yeah.
Scrooge.
Free.
Free. Can be free.
Yep.
Tamatoa plays dime for...
Free.
Aha. I see a pattern here.
Yeah, a lot of things are free. If you play out a bunch of cheap, chumpy items, a lot of things are free.
Now, who could have seen this coming?
You.
Anybody who's ever played a collectible card game before
Well, yeah.
could have seen this coming because free is such a scary word to put on a card.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's good design necessarily.
When you look over the course of the history of games, the cards that have been the most problematic are the ones that let you do things repeatedly for free.
Yeah. And yes, you have to trade items in order to play these things for quote-unquote free. Obviously, we're not saying that they actually cost 0 to play, but paying 1 for a popsicle, which lets you draw a card, and then just banishing it, and playing a 3-cost 3/3 on turn 1, that's free. That's crazy, because you'd pay 1 to draw a card.
Sure, some folks have been saying that Popsicle is the biggest offender in these Sapphire decks. I know that Zan Syed has gone on record saying that Popsicle is the problem card that he would ban. Now, to me, I think Popsicle is the card that allows you to play item decks at all. I think you'd be hard-pressed to play any item deck, period. Any deck that's focused on items without Popsicle. So I'd be reticent to ban that card to get rid of it, to remove it from the game, because then you're saying that all item decks are kind of dead in the water at that point. You need that little bit of, I don't know, like grease in the wheel. Popsicle is the oil that keeps the item engine moving. So if you want to kill all item decks, sure, just get rid of Popsicle. But for me, I'd rather just see the support systems for items be better designed. All of the cards that are played around Popsicle have a better design. Not putting limits on cards, not good design. Like the fact that Tamatoa doesn't have a limit on the cost of the card that can play for free when he quests, not good. The fact that there are all of these free cards in the same color, not good.
Yeah, I mean, I was playing against a blue steel deck in my first match on Sunday, of course, and they played a Clamatoa, and he played dime twice for free. It just means that at that point, I know either I'm playing a deck that can combat this, that can remove these items or get rid of Tamatoa or anything like that, or I already know that I'm playing a deck that can't do that and I've lost the game. And it just feels like it's such an early pin down for no reason.
Sure, you can play Tamatoa on turn 4, which means you get a free dime on turn 5.
Yeah.
Pretty consistently.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough to play against. It's a little exhausting to play against. It really changes the meta.
Yeah, it does pigeonhole you, doesn't it? It means you have to play a card like Along Came Zeus or a card that will keep Tamatoa from questing if you want to keep that from happening. To me, the more problematic playlines involve Belle. I thought that Belle was the best card in the set. As soon as that was revealed, I said that's the best card in the set. And maybe it was my blue steel bias showing through. You know, I was really excited to try her in blue steel. I have not played much blue steel at all because of how popular it's been. A little bit of a hipster in me, I guess, but I played against it a lot now. And all of the play lines that frustrate me involve Belle. When you play a Popsicle for 1 and draw a card, so you're only down 1 ink at that point, then you play Belle. You've paid 1 for your 3/3 Belle. Then Belle sings Let the Storm Rage On for free, removes one of your characters potentially, and draws them a card, so they're still only down the 1 Belle on the board. Then the next turn they play Strength of a Raging Fire. Now all of a sudden they've paid 1 for 9 ink worth of cards.
Yeah, it's pretty busted. How would you fix the Belle design? If you were to look at that card and they say, okay, we want to keep this in Lorcana, how do you adjust it? I'm just wondering. I know that you've played a lot of blue steel, so like in your mind's eye, how would you possibly do this?
You could just reduce her stats. If you just want item decks to have a little bit more early board presence, because you can play her on turn 1, put her stats on the level of something that can be played on turn 1. Make her a 2/2 or a 1/3, and I think she'd still be, borderline playable. The other problem with her is the ability to sing those steel removal songs, right? So if you reduce her stat line and then also reduce her cost so that the songs that she can sing aren't as impactful, that would go a long way. But I think she would still be an interesting choice, right? Like if she was a 2-cost 2/2 or even a 2-cost 2/3, then she's still a choice. She could still see play without being a must include in every single Sapphire deck until something happens.
Yeah, I think that's a good edit. I think that could work. I think that could save the card and not completely insanely overpower blue deck.
Now, all this said, I am appreciative of the fact that it feels like the game is new. It feels like we are in a truly different metagame than we have been for 6 months or so.
Yeah, it's what we were praying to the Lorcana gods for. It's changed a lot of things. I know it's frustrating that a lot of people have switched to decks just because it's the hot deck, but that's also nice. People maybe who have never played blue before are trying to play blue. They're playing Sapphire, if they've never touched it. I mean, I've been playing Sapphire Ruby at home and having fun with it, and I don't normally play Sapphire decks. I don't think I'm confident enough with Sapphire yet to really play it at a win-a-box or at a tournament, but it's fun to try a new thing. It's cool that the meta feels really shaken up, and it feels like a lot of people are playing new cards. I mean, it's what we wanted.
Sure, I was seeing some mistakes made against me for sure. I was noticing that some of my opponents who were not super familiar with Sapphire Steel were making repeated mistakes just because of the lack of familiarity with the cards. And that's cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's great. It's great for any player to feel like they can still grow in the game. If you've been playing Ruby Amethyst forever and ever and you think, oh, I'm going to play Blue Steel, and then you realize that you've made mistakes, that's great. I mean, what better way to grow as a player?
Let's talk about item removal now.
Ah, yes.
Let's talk about the other side of this coin, the other side of this lucky dime.
Nice, yes.
Is item removal strong enough in the game?
That's the eternal question. I mean, what do you have to give up in order to remove an item?
So normally it costs 1 ink-ish and 1 card to banish an item. If you look at something like Benja, he's a 2/3 that quests for 2, so he's a little bit better than a vanilla 2-cost character, and he banishes an item. If you look at something like Wildcat, he's a 2/3 evasive that can repeatedly sort of banish items. Hideaway, you can use on your own items to ramp, and it costs 2. So it's removal, and it has that ramp ability. I'd put it at about 1 ink to remove an item. And there are lots of options to do that in Emerald, in Sapphire, and especially in Steel. But I would say that the opportunity cost of using item removal is a lot higher.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the biggest dilemma to me, is that especially the other day when we were playing 5 rounds in a tournament, right? I saw another Sapphire player come up and I would be like, all right, I've got a Clarabelle in my hand, a little Clarabelle, and if I pay 2, she can remove an item, right, when she's played. And you sit there being like, okay, I should hold this for a dime. Okay, I'm going to hold it for a dime. And then you've got Clarabelle just taunting you in your hand as good ink, right? Or as a removal for a popsicle or whatever. And you could use her, but you're saving it for the dime, ? I mean, a lot of times I would save it thinking I was going to get a dime, and then they would all of a sudden have 4 items because I wasn't removing a popsicle, and then they bust out a Scrooge for free, and now the game's kind of out of my hand.
Yeah, figuring out when to use your item removal can be really tricky because they're going to have more items than you have item removal. And then there's the question of how many item removal cards do you have to include in order to regularly see the item removal when you need it. And then there's the opportunity cost of not including more universally useful cards instead of the item removal. Overall, it forces play along this entirely different axis. Characters on the board is an axis of play. Locations kind of exist on that same axis. They're part of, challenging on the board. Board is this axis of play. And then items are kind of off to the side. They're on a whole different plane. You need cards that specifically interact with items. You can't challenge the items can't challenge for you. And the problem with this can be that it promotes this asynchronous gameplay.
I mean, that's the nightmare, right? That's the nightmare scenario, that it feels like you're just playing 2 different games and whoever gets to 21st wins. And it doesn't matter what your opponent does because your deck does one thing. removes items. Their deck does one thing. It plays items, and that's it. And that's all that matters.
And that's okay. Like, if the game was about removing items and playing items, and that's the axis that you were both competing on, then I think that's okay. I think that can be decent gameplay. Like, I want there to be interaction between you and your opponent. When it gets troublesome to me is when one deck says, I care a lot about items and I'm going to do my thing, and you can't interact with that. And then the other player says, I'm not going to use items at all. I'm not going to interact with items. I'm going to try to win the game without engaging with anything you're doing. It reminds me of Star Wars CCG. In Star Wars, your characters could either be in space, on an X-Wing or whatever, or they could be on the ground of the planet, like they could be at the Tatooine Cantina, right? But one player might have a deck that has like a whole bunch of TIE fighters in it, and then the other player might have a deck that's all rebel soldiers on Hoth. And you could end up in situations where you didn't interact at all. And those are not fun games, comparatively. When you look at Lorcana and you compare it, when one player is playing a whole bunch of items and doing this crazy engine, and they don't really care about stopping their opponent on the board, like they don't have to worry about removing characters or whatever because their bells and scrooges are just sitting there and removing things easily without a thought. That's not interactive gameplay.
I agree. I mean, that would be terrible to have that happen. I can definitely see that being a reality, though. I guess what I was going for, what I thought you were going for, is that it's really boring. If everyone's playing items and item removal. But I mean, what you're saying is also terrible. That's the asynchronous gameplay that you're talking about, is that you're on like completely different planes.
Yes, and I think one of the aspects of gameplay that could exacerbate this issue is that there is a lot of item recursion, that items want to be banished, that there's sometimes benefits to items being banished. And so if your opponent does try to slow down your item engine, oftentimes they're feeding it inadvertently. There's more item recursion just natively because item players are already wanting to bring items back from the discard. There's more item recursion than there is item removal. You'd have to include so much item removal to keep items off of the board.
And there's no item control recursion.
Right. If you use your Benja, it's done.
Yeah. Clarabelle doesn't come back.
I mean, maybe you can play Amethyst Steel and like bounce your Benja. That doesn't seem very effective. It doesn't seem nearly as effective as playing your Tamatoa and getting 2 items back from your discard.
Constantly. It's crazy. I don't know about this. I hope that maybe in the future they can kind of calm this item wave down. Not sure how they go about that, but I hope that they could.
Yeah, I think it's possible we will see some kind of errata or ban or restriction. I think Belle is a possible target for sure, because I think that she creates the most negative play patterns. She creates the most non-games where she comes out on turn 1 and locks down the board for 4 or 5 turns and there's no real hope for the opponent. That said, it's still super early, and one of the most fun things you can do is look at an existing metagame and say, okay, how can I beat the boogeyman? How can I take down Sapphire Steel? What underutilized cards are out there that might give me a leg up in a matchup that it might be 40% of my matchups, It was 35% of the field at the Winnabox that we were at on Sunday.
Only 35%?
35%. 35% Sapphire Steel specifically. It was about 50% Sapphire decks.
That makes sense. It felt like 50%. Well, we're thankful to you, items, and we hope you die a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about Smetty.
It was pretty spicy.
It's wild. It's unexpected.
Kind of left a weird aftertaste.
Something sharp, something new.
Hello.
Hi, Helga. What's up for the main course tonight?
He's not Helga.
Oh my goodness. I am so sorry, Melga. Melga, I'm so sorry. Helga is wearing a hairstyle that you normally wear, I think. I'm so sorry.
We are not same. We are just sisters, not same person.
I know. I'm so sorry. I apologize profusely.
It's okay. I'm not really that mad. All right, I have main dish for you.
What have we got here?
It's a hook Meats is hook meats.
Hook meats?
Is kebab with hook skewer.
Oh, it's a hook-shaped kebab.
Yes.
Thank you. This looks great.
Enjoy meats.
So we're looking at it's like a kebab, but it's in the shape of like Captain Hook's hook.
Wow, don't let Disney know about this. They'll put it in every restaurant they have. This is sweet.
Looks really cool.
I love this. Oh, look, it's chicken and pork and beef.
Mm-hmm. I would have liked to have worn this to be snacking on while I was playing my deck on Sunday.
Did you say you would have worn this?
Yeah, I would have worn it, and then I would have had it, right there. I could have my hand of cards in one hand, and then my hook of meats on the other hand, and I could be munching on that while I was playing.
It would have been a very good snack, but you would have gotten it all over your cards.
Well, that's what sleeves are for.
Heyo, up top, for collecting the meat juices.
And you could run the hook through the cards to, like, hold your hand.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
You wouldn't mind with this deck, because this whole deck on Dreamborn costs like $50.
And it rocks.
It's a sweet deck, y'all.
You played this at the Winnabox.
I did. So we're looking at an Emerald Steel Pirate non-song action list.
Ooh, what's the name of this deck, Brett?
Well, it's not my best work.
Yes, it is.
So the name I named I named it on Dreamborn for myself and not for any of you listening. I named it It's a Smee, Donald. Oh.
No, it's very good. Do it with the voice.
It's a Smee, Donald. Oh.
Very good. I think it's genius. I love It's a Smee, Donald. Oh.
All right, so I had a pretty good run. I've been trying all the new archetypes from the set.
Yes.
As many as we could from Arcasia's Island. The Madrigals, the Racers, anything that seemed like it was being encouraged by the design we've been trying. And the only one that has really been a pleasant surprise, the one that has stood out, the one that seems viable and powerful, is Emerald Steel Pirates. This deck has surprised me. It's been so much fun. It can do incredibly powerful and fun things. I kept saying on Sunday that I had the most fun deck in the room.
Oh, by far.
I had multiple comments from people watching saying, like, that deck looks like so much fun. I have to try that.
And that was the point, for us at least, during this set of Lorcana, was to bring back the joy. Find the joy, find the fun decks. But I will say, I mean, it's a really strong deck. It's not just a fun deck. It's not just silly or off meta or anything like that. It's not just cool because it's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. I mean, I've had a really hard time beating this at home.
Yeah, it's very, very strong. So I basically ended up one game off of making the top cut in this event. I played against 3 Sapphire Steel decks. I went 3-0 in games on the play against Sapphire Steel. And I went 1-4 on the draw. One of those games I would like back because I think I could have turned it, but made a few mistakes. I soundly beat a Amethyst Steel list, and I lost to an Amber Amethyst aggro list, and that was super frustrating because this deck has so many anti-aggro tools, and I drew about as poorly as I possibly could have.
I mean, that's variance, right? That's going to happen from game to game. I don't know that that necessarily defines the deck, which is, I guess, what makes it frustrating.
Yeah, I mulliganed 6 and 7 and missed a 1-drop in both games, and that was really, really the difference because my turn 2 play then got befuddled. I had one game where I had no turn 3 play, and so I, played Mr. Smee, he got befuddled. I played Mr. Smee, he got befuddled again. Little Lilos were questing for 6 and 8.
Woof.
Yeah, so that's a series I would have liked back, but I feel like this deck has a lot of anti-aggro tools and should generally handle aggro very, very well.
Yeah, what's in this list, Brett? Walk us through it.
All right. So the linchpin of the deck, the card that makes it possible, is Mr. Smee, Efficient Captain. This is the new 3-cost uninkable 3/3 quests for 1. And he has the all-important text. Whenever you play an action that isn't a song, you may ready chosen pirate character. It does not say that they can't quest again.
That is very important.
And so you have many pirates that quest for 2. You have Donald Duck, who quests for 3. And if you're able to chain a couple of actions together in a turn, you can quest for a lot. I know that I've quested for 15 plus lore in a turn with this deck fairly regularly.
Yes, I've had you do that to me many times playing this deck at home against a whole scad of other decks from this set.
So let's talk about the rest of the deck here. So we definitely have 4 of those Mr. Smees. We have 4 of the Donald First Mate that quests for 3 if you have a captain in play, and you have a ton of captains. Captain Hook as a 1-drop, the 2-drop Mr. Smee, of course. You've got the shift line for John Silver. You have the 3-drop John Silver that prevents a character from challenging, and then the big 8-drop John Silver. He has a 6/6 quest for 2 with resist 2, and he damages ready characters at the start of your turn. So he enables a lot of shenanigans.
And he really hasn't seen the light of day yet.
Yeah, and he has been a pleasant surprise. He wasn't in my first version of the deck, but he earned his place for sure at 2 copies anyway. The action suite, as it stands, includes Fire the Cannons, of course. It has Improvise, which is great for just cycling through, drawing some cards. I was playing 2 Babooms and 4 Mosquito Bites on Sunday. I have since changed that to 2 Mosquito Bites, 4 Babooms. So a lot of damage actions that are very cheap that allow you to get this engine going. I want to shout out the 1-drop Pete.
OMG.
1-drop Pete with all of the Sapphire decks going around is pretty good. You can hold him in your hand until you want to play an action or 2 and then blow up a Quill or a Popsicle or a Dime. When he's on the board, Sapphire players were reluctant to play items against me, which was really helpful at certain points of the game. And then when you decide you don't need that ability anymore, the Shift Pete is amazing. 6-cost inkable, 5/5, quest for 2, shifts for 4. And while he's exerted, opposing characters can't sing songs, and your pirates gain resist +1. So perfect in this list.
I mean, it's unreal. Being able to blanket give all of your pirates resist +1 in a deck that is so thick with pirates makes it nearly impossible to clear this board.
Yeah, he makes things very, very sticky. Now, there are some non-pirate cards that are very, very important. You might expect to see Doc, 4 copies of Doc.
You need that refill.
You really do. The card that I haven't seen played that has been amazing, has been a revelation, has been the card that made the deck possible, is Scar Vengeful Lion.
Dum, dum, dum.
Scar is a 4-cost inkable 4/2, quest for 1 with Ward. And he says that whenever one of your characters challenges a damaged character, you may draw a card. Now, this Scar, in a meta where Grab Your Sword has been dropped from pretty much every single deck, Sapphire Steel used to play it, and they don't play it anymore. That Scar sits out there for a long, long time, and he draws quite a few cards.
He is unreal. Having Ward and being a character that you don't need to exert in order for him to do his ability is, especially, it feels like in this set and in this current meta, that's kind of unheard of. A lot of these cards must be exerted in order to do whatever they need to do, right? These new hot cards, like a Tamatoa, for example, right? Scar, you can just have sit up the whole time. He's got Ward, he's just chilling.
He presents really interesting scenarios with Hirams. If you're in a situation where you can't stop a Hiram from questing, which definitely does happen, you very often can challenge into that Hiram 2 or 3 times and draw cards just off of that. Basically, you're saying, yeah, you can draw off your Hiram, but I'm going to draw an equal or even greater number of cards off of my Scar. Scar has absolutely rocked. I can't overstate how good this card has been in this deck.
You'd be lying if you said anything else about him. Thank you.
Yikes.
Thank you.
Gizmo Duck
Gizmo Duck
is in the list. Gizmo Duck, the 4-cost inkable 4/3, quest for 1, resist 1, and he can challenge ready damaged characters. Now you have all kinds of things to enable Gizmo Duck. You've got the Mosquito Bites and the Cannons and the Babooms and that big John Silver. Lots of ways to ping a character for damage and then challenge in with Gizmo Duck. We only had 2 copies of Gizmo Duck, and so I was actually running 2 Gizmo Ducks and 2 Bagheeras. I never played Bagheera and just wished that he was Gizmo Duck the whole day. Just that we hadn't pulled 4 Gizmo Ducks yet.
Yeah, right.
So in the list that we'll publish, 4 Gizmo Ducks is where I'm at.
Gizmo Duck is one of those cards that we highlighted at the beginning of this set. We felt good about it. We also love the character of Gizmo Duck, obviously.
So this list is still a work in progress. I intend to keep playing it, and I hope you'll give it a shot. It has been really, really fun. I think it has high tier 2 potential. it hasn't caught on at all, and so there's lots of surprise potential right now. Folks aren't really expecting some of the shifts that take place. They don't anticipate how fast the deck can gain lore. Even the simple 2-drop Mr. Smee that quests for 2 will end up questing, for 6 or 8 in a turn if that 3-drop Mr. Smee is on the board. So the ability to come from behind and close games is pretty incredible.
I think it's a lot of fun. I can't wait to see this continue to grow as we go to tournaments, as you bring it places. And hopefully as the meta sort of settles out to be what it will be, we'll get a better understanding of how this deck fits in.
If you are looking to try it, something that I would consider is including some amount of Ursula in the list. It feels pretty bad to have Belle prevent you from either playing characters or keeping characters on the board for the first several turns. This is a deck that wants to go pretty wide, so I do want to include some amount of Ursula in the deck. If you give this a shot, let us know how you find it. It has some pretty good game into the Sapphire meta. It can go extremely quickly, and it can remove items with that Pete. And so it lines up reasonably well and has potential to get even better.
Indeed. It's a Smee, Donaldo.
It's a Smee, Donaldo.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Helga and Melga.
We want to sing for you a song.
Okay, sure. I didn't know that you were a singer. Whatever.
No, we don't sing.
Okay.
It's part of dessert.
Okay.
We have to sing a 1, 2, 3. Yo! Enjoy.
What was that?
I don't know.
Were they trying to sing a pirate song?
I think that to them that was a pirate song.
Well, I guess they were trying to sing a pirate shanty because they presented us with this tiny bottle of rum.
Yeah, I think this is meant to be the after dinner mint tonight.
Okay. Oh, and look, there's a dream card in the bottle.
Oh my God, Brett! It's our favorite character from Peter Pan. It's Skylights.
Oh yeah, everybody loves Skylights. I totally knew what this character's name was before I looked it up on the Peter Pan wiki.
Yeah, and I totally knew who it was before you told me that you had to look it up on the Peter Pan wiki and that he was a character from a Disney movie.
Yeah, it's Skylights. Now, you might know him as the pirate who's sitting up in the mast and playing an accordion and singing poorly about how pirates' lives are short before Captain Hook gets really annoyed and shoots him.
No, he doesn't. He shoots at him, right? He doesn't actually kill him.
No, I think he does. You just hear a splash. Like,
you do?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And you never hear from Skylights again, yeah.
So this card depicts Skylight's last living moments.
Yeah. We have Skylight's Discordant Singer. He is a 2-cost inkable steel card with 3 strength, 1 willpower. He quests for 1. He's a Storyborn ally and a pirate. He has 3, count them, 3 abilities.
The first of which is Pirate Crew. You can't play this character unless you have another pirate character in play.
Okay, so we've got an understated-ish character with a stipulation that he has to be played in a pirate deck, so we're expecting 2 good abilities after this. The next ability is Booty. When you play this character, banish chosen item.
We love an item banish. And his third ability is Shanty. Whenever a character sings a song, banish them. And the flavor text...
The life of a pirate is short.
Everyone's favorite Disney song.
Yeah, that's what he's singing right before Captain Hook
shoots him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, to be fair, he's going, short.
Yes, but you know, what else is Captain Hook doing? He can relax a little bit. What is he, a villain or something?
This is the proof that he's an evil guy. So Skylights potentially is a great answer to a Belle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really strong and forces you into some pirate synergies, which is a good limitation to have on a strong card. He allows you to banish any items that are lingering around, and he says, yeah, you can sing, but if you do, you're going to get banished.
He banishes items, and he banishes people who sing. You want to get rid of Skylights. He has 1 willpower, which makes a lot of sense because he's killed quite quickly in the movie as well. You can get him with a mosquito bite. But if you don't, that's pretty nice. And like you said, maybe it delays your opponent for a minute.
Yeah, it would be great to just have this kind of counter to the Belle singing. He can sit there as a challenger and say if Belle's exerted, he can trade into her. It's not a great trade for you, but maybe you've traded an item. But what's really great is he says that Belle can't continue to sing every turn and remove your stuff. She's going to get banished as well.
Exactly.
It would be great to have a check like this right now. I would love to include Skylights in that pirate deck that we were talking about with our main course.
Yes, who wouldn't? R.I.P. Skylights. We miss you every day.
Katie, what's next on the menu?
Oh boy! Oodles and oodles of noodles. Yeah, that's right, folks. We're going to talk about the first ever noodle deck in Lorcana. No. That'd be good, though. There is spaghetti dinner. There could be a noodle deck in Lorcana.
We'll talk about noodle decks or something else. Whatever strikes our fancy.
We have a lot of exciting ideas coming up. There may be some potential time travel. There may be some new characters. You never know what you're going to see next.
I'm sure Toby's been brewing.
Oh, there's a lot that's coming, dear listener.
Make sure you tune in weekly. And in the meantime, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. Make sure you're subscribed on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can write us a review on those platforms. That would be really, really great if you're enjoying all of this. And if you're super keen to support the pod, then you can go to tiptopjar.com/smorkana and leave us a financial contribution. If you'd like to tip your hairstylist, then maybe tip your pod stylist.
Tink, 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 tink. That's people putting coins in the tip-top jar.
Until next time, keep on snacking, y'all.
R.I.P. Skylights. We never forgot you.
Of course, we never really knew you.
Nom 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 nom.
Yarr!